Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Jim Grisanzio from the Java Developer Relations team, and I'm here with my buddy Chris Bensen here at JavaOne in Las Vegas. And Chris is an engineer who built this amazing machine behind us here, and he's going to tell us about it. Chris, welcome.
Hi Jim, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun. Yeah, so we built the world's largest Raspberry Pi cluster that we know of. We haven't got the Guinness Book. But
I guess the app we know of is sort of important, right?
That is important because without the Guinness Book, you can't say it officially, unfortunately. But
so how many are here?
We have 1,050 Raspberry Pi. Right now, running is 1,012. I don't know what's happened to the other 38. They've kind of checked out, or maybe gamma rays, because we're network booting every single Raspberry Pi off Oracle Linux, and they're all running Oracle Linux and running GraalVM with Java, and there's some Python too. So there's lots of glue code in here, and we've got pretty much every Oracle, well, not every Oracle technology, but as many as I could cram into this blue box that kind of looks like reminiscent of a certain spaceship from a TV show.
Now, when we first actually displayed this machine, it was in 2019 in San Francisco. That was the first version of it. So talk a little bit about some of the updates that you did, because you told me actually yesterday that you completely rebuilt everything, or you took it apart completely, 100%.
I'd say about 90% was taken apart and replaced. Yeah, so the first time around, and I guess that's a good point. Let's call that 1.0. Yeah. That was a Java community project that was running 100% Java through and through. The GlueOn team was kind of spearheading that with Johan, and that was pretty awesome. They had a great thing. We had a big video wall that was really showing off Java effects. This time around, we're trying to show off connectivity to the cloud, and as well as GraalVM. So what we have here is the first time around, it didn't take into account cooling. Because I thought, well, it was a hard problem, and I thought, well, some of these engineering challenges you just kind of kick down the road, and we'll deal with that later. So we had 7 fans, big fans, and each one of them could evacuate all the air in about 30 seconds. So we figured 7 of them will be able to evacuate all the air. It turned out, though, that they evacuated the air and they pulled it in here, fluid dynamics, go figure. So fast forward, we were going to ship this around the world just after Open World, but it takes a lot of power, like a whole house of power. So I know, it's comical. And so it was kind of hard to get in the door too, because it's big. So events teams, those combinations made it really hard. So I made 2 84 Pi clusters that were a little easier to ship. And when we built that, I solved the cooling problem. So I had 5 fans behind each one of these 21 Pi 2U racks.
So that's a lot more cooling then.
Yeah, you can feel it. It feels like a space heater in front of you. I've never seen a space heater quite this big and on both sides. It's silly. But so there's 250 fans. Well, 257 fans now in this, because they're minus the ones in the switches and the servers and stuff. And that cools it fine. It's been running now for 3 days. Wow. We haven't shut it off. I got a 1,012 Pi running, and I haven't wanted to shut it off because you don't know what happened. Like I said, when you network boot them, sometimes there's hiccups and stuff, and there's little bugs in the Pi firmware, so you don't know if you're actually going to be able to boot it. So when one light doesn't go on, you don't know if you're going to be able to kick that one. If you turn off all of them and turn it back on, because they're all 42 Pi are connected to one switch, it's all or nothing for those 42 Pi. So it takes about 3 hours to boot the whole thing, because you got to make sure you do it nice and slow and make sure every Pi's come online and everything. What is the other upgrade? We got a plaque on the side for everyone that's contributed. That's really important.
And it's a pretty long list of people. Actually, I wanted to talk a little bit about the different teams at Oracle that you've worked with, or individuals that you've worked with, to actually construct it and update it and everything that's been going on.
Yeah, it's really become one of those 10-20% passion projects that people from across the org, they get to, people ask why. Obviously, it's just cool. It kicks ass. I mean, do I need to say any more? It's a show piece. But we need justifications. So, and we work together with other engineering teams. So there's the Oracle Linux team, there's the Java team, there's the Oracle Labs team, there's OCI, there's database. So we've got...
Yeah, that's all the core projects of the company.
That's pretty much pretty much everything except for apps. There's GBUs too, so like the Sail GP, we couldn't fit that on.
Well, you say that a lot of this is about passion. I remember after the San Francisco event in 2019, right after the event was over, I heard in the hallways all throughout the company, even people who were totally uninvolved with it were talking about it. So that passion, it gets around.
It has. So after 2019, a certain pandemic happened and kind of things locked down a little bit. And you helped me with a YouTube video. I had scratch video from building this thing. We had bought some cameras and we were like, well, maybe we can do a video of this. And I remember you said, don't you have video? And I'm like, oh yeah. So I put together a 6-minute video. It was originally a lot longer that you kept telling me, cut it down. So 6-minute video, and it's gotten nearly 1 million views now. And I talk to people come here and they're like, I've seen you on YouTube. I get that now with even neighbors' kids. It's kind of interesting. So since then I've done other YouTube videos. Like this has been in my garage for the last 6 months, adding the fans and doing the software upgrades and everything. And so it's been hashtag big Pi cluster in my garage. And I got a little bored, to be honest, and so there's 2 of me sometimes, video editing, talking to myself. Some people have been kind of worried. I'm okay. No, I'm not. Yeah, I am.
You mentioned like your neighbor's kid. I mean, that's actually interesting because the Raspberry Pi community is global and it's very passionate and it's massive as well. So that's also a part of the allure.
Yeah, I've been having discussions with some of the Pi YouTubers and people in the community like Eben Upton and Jeff Gerling and various people. So it's a tight community. There's everyone just wants good for Raspberry Pi and just makers in general. It's just fun, it's just really fun. Every single one of these pieces is 3D printed, so it's got all kinds of other technologies as well as Oracle technologies. Obviously the Javas and the Graal's and various things. But
so you mentioned your 3D printing. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so all the caddies that hold each Pi is 3D printed. I designed that CAD. It's actually available on Thingiverse for free. Anybody can download it, and I get contacted occasionally. Someone's built an 84 Pi cluster or just 21 Pi. I mean, there's still a lot of Pi, especially nowadays, to get hold of one. Usually most of those happen before the last year or so, or they had the Pi sitting around. But yeah, people can build it themselves, and they can modify the files too if they want to modify it and do their own. So
it's like an open source project as well.
In a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, all the code for this right now, what's running on it right now is 100% open source.
You wrote a lot of that.
Wrote most of it, yeah. We have other bits of it too, because we have a digital twin piece of it, so all the data that's coming off of every single Pi. The most important one is the temperature, the CPU usage, and the memory. So that goes, as well as the processes and their PIDs, and so we can kill a process and everything. That all goes up into Autonomous Database via the REST API through ORDS. So we got the JSON payload that's coming through, and so we can do the really nice queries right in the database. And so that is all the data telemetry, and then we have Oculus headset for VR, so you can have a digital twin of the Pi cluster in your Oculus VR room. You can, when a light blinks here, it takes about 200 milliseconds for it to show up in the digital universe. We have augmented reality, so you can hold up an iPad over the Pi cluster and you can tap on a Pi, so you can find out this one's IP address. We can't do that right now. It's really hard. It's really hard if a Pi fails, or we need to dig into a specific Pi. If it's not turned on, we can't deal with it. But I can find out the IP address of a Pi just with augmented reality, that's surreal. I mean, what I'm hoping we can do. So after this conference, it's going to go into the Oracle Labs. It's going to sit in there for a bunch of research projects. Some research students have been working on this already. Graal VM has their native image for Python. and for Java, so we can compile that down to native image on an ARM device, and so that's going to be really good for Ampere and any ARM, M1, all that stuff, and the research students that work in the Graal team have been working to do that. They're getting their doctorates in various things, and so it's really cool to work with them.
Yeah, there's a lot of PhDs over there.
Yeah, they're pretty smart people, and so this is going to go into the lab, and they're going to be able to continue and further their work. So we'll have to be running testing on it because it's a pretty big cluster. They'll be able to run tons of tests on it. The Java team is going to be able to do some research on it. So think of Panama, be able to access the GPU. That'll be pretty cool. There's what else? Oracle Linux. I want to try and get a nice small Docker container version of Oracle Linux. We'll see what happens with that. Crossing fingers. So the point is, there'll be a neat research project for people to be able to work on it, as well as I'm hoping we can open it up a little bit to the community beyond just what I have running on it. What's running on it right now, the workload, is actually a custom programming language that I wrote just for Twitter and the Pi cluster. It only took a couple days. It was written in Python, and I started off with an easy open source project, but it's called Warble. You can tweet. The idea was to be able to condense this down. So it's like C Python meets Pascal, and it's a reduced amount of characters. So it's as small as you can write it, and I wanted people to be able to post a tweet and calculate pi on the Pi cluster, running through the whole Pi clusters, and it's actually displayed on an Apex database, or a page generated with Apex stored in the database. So
you're just touching everything that Oracle does here. I've been noticing you've been having conversations with people, because we're right here on the show floor. You are right here at the main entrance here. Talk about some of the things that people are sort of asking you. You give me like a summary of what you're talking about with some of the people, some of the developers that come by.
It's a range from 3D printers. I was just having a conversation just before you came here. There's plenty of people that, wow, once they find out, they're like, wow, this is 3D printed. That's what I can do with a 3D printer. I didn't know that. I've been refraining. And don't just print plastic to throw it away, but if you want to print a Pi case or anything, why buy one when you can design your own? Learn CAD and print it out, or get a file. There's free files out there. They're not all good, so it's kind of hard, but 3D printers are amazing, and there's a lot of conversations about that, because anything blue on here is 3D printed.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Everything's blue.
Yeah. So like there's pieces to turn on the switch. You put magnets in it. I don't know if the camera can see that, but that clips in. So yeah, it's a lot of engineering challenges with physical engineering. People are very interested in Pis, and especially network booting the Pis, because not very many people network boot a Pi. They put SD cards in it. None of this has an SD card. That's really the key. And a lot of them are asking specific questions, like there was one on database. When are we going to get ARM? The Oracle database on ARM. So I'm having conversations with some of the product managers and stuff. So this is a community. It's not just I personally take this as I'm here with this project and representing Oracle, and a lot of people that sit on a floor like this, they go, just contact our something department. I take their emails back and their questions, and I go contact those engineering people, teams and stuff, and get back to them. If we have a specific bug, let's fix it, because they're not the only ones having the problem. So that's one of the things that the big conversations we've had as well with people. But they're curious about the whole stack. The whole entire stack is interesting, from the engineering, from the very, just the physical thing, to a Pi, to all the way to what we're running in the cloud and how they can use some of these technologies.
All right, Chris. Well, that's a great summary. Thank you very much. Good luck with it today, and we're all looking forward to version 3 next year. And so world's largest Raspberry Pi cluster
that we know of.
Thanks, Chris. We'll talk to you soon.